Look, I know I'm 2 days late, but I want to wish every mother out there a happy Mother's Day and just say how grateful I am that God made you as He did. See, mothers are altogether a different breed and deserve to be hailed for their collective exceptionalism. Mothers are a child's first chance to experience God's unconditional love, even if it's only just a sliver of it. They are, unfortunately, still are human. Young boys are savages. They seem to take pleasure in hurting each other just to hurt each other. Now, I know from experience, probably my 10th birthday party, a group of 10 or 15 of us came home after school. And before we had even went inside to see the cake or do any of the activities that my mother had planned for us, we were out there in the yard in a giant brawl, trying to somewhat pin each other. Mostly it was just inflict as much pain as possible. See, boys really will be boys. But just imagine how much more savage the world would be if there weren't mothers in the world to teach us humility. Just imagine if there wasn't mother's love at all, if that wasn't a thing. It's a scary place, one where anarchy would probably reign and we would all probably go around wearing loincloths. See, Jesus himself knew how much a mother meant and just how important a mother's role in the family is. We have a tendency to venerate Jesus as fully God, which he was and which we should. But we also tend to forget that he was also fully human. He had those familial bonds that we all have to some degree. And it was that relationship with his mother that kicked off his earliest miracle. We all know the story. They were at the wedding. The host had run out of wine, a grave social sin in those days. Jesus' mom came up to him and said, "Hey, do your thing. I know you can do it." And for whatever reason, he didn't. He refused at first. Mary did probably the most mother-like thing. She just went and said, "Hey, see my son over there? Fill up water jugs, bring him to him. Let him do his thing." It obviously wasn't wrong for him to do it because he did it. And basic Christian theology tells us that if it was wrong, he wouldn't have done it. But for whatever his reasons beforehand were not doing it, venerating his mom, respecting his mother, listening to what she said, overrode those reasons. That's how important mothers are. So moms, take heart. This is how important of a job you have. It's what makes you worth being a good Proverbs 31 type of woman. It gives you, it's yet another reason to. So may the crowns be high on your head in glory, and welcome to the Canceled Misfits Show. So, yeah, we made it through another week. We've made it to another episode of the Canceled Misfit Show. I am much more well-lit than my half episode last year, or last week. Still having technical difficulties. My lapel mic decided the clip wanted to break just before, literally a minute before I started the stream, but we'll fight through that. We'll figure out a way. Interestingly, I have no script for today, which is fine because the biggest topic going on right now in America is, what's going on with SCOTUS, Roe v. Wade, and hopefully, prayerfully, the overturning of it. So I shouldn't need a script to talk about that because it's if you can argue against abortion, I mean, you, as a good Christian conservative, you should be able to. Now, what I'm going to do today, though, is something that you should probably not engage in as you see these people in the wild. I've made this mistake, so learn from my experience, and that is arguing edge cases. Now, this is what the left really loves to do because at the core, abortion is a mother, the antithesis of Mother's Day. Mothers killing their children. And in a vast majority of those, that's all it is mothers killing children. Now, when you talk about this with someone who is like squeamish about it, or someone who's even on the far left, they'll say all of these edge cases They'll talk about rape and incest, which I'm just going to go ahead and tell you right now. That makes up less than 1% of what goes on. And that's not just me saying that. That's not just me going to like some conservative, pro-life advocacy group. That is Planned Parenthood numbers. That is the, and we'll struggle with this one. It's a German name, the Guttmacher Institute, which is very much pro-abortion. Even they say that those happen around 1% of the time. So we can be assured that type of reality is far less than the 1% that they try to, that they say. So really, when you argue that case, argue that abortion shouldn't be legal or should be legal for that instance, realize that they're arguing somewhere between 5 cases and 1,000. Now, should we take those cases lightly? Assuredly not. But if someone brings that up to you, don't try and argue with them, because most likely what will happen, and what has happened to me, is they're just going to filibuster. They're just going to talk and talk and talk and talk, and they're not going to let you respond. But even if they do, it's hard to do, because it really does make you sound like a monster. You're not for wanting to, save those babies even then, as we'll get into. But it's a hard battle to fight, and you can pretty much assume that they're not going to let you talk. But if they do, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I got you. We got this together. If someone, as they have brought up with me, talks about very young girls getting raped, which goes from like 5 in 1,000 to like 1 in, 10,000 or more. And I'm talking about, 11, 12, 13-year-olds. It happens, and it shouldn't, and it's a terrible thing. But they'll try to bait you into, moving on your pro-life stances from there. And if you do that, that's the game. That's the ball game. So if you are into one of these things, you can do one of two things. You can say, that's a separate issue. We can talk about it. I'm still not giving up my views, but we can talk about it. But first, let's take the 99% plus of abortions, which boil down to convenience. That's what it is. It's stabbing your kid in the head for basically convenient reasons. Yes, money, you're not ready. All of those are terrible. All those are not good times to bring a baby in. Still a lot better than sticking a fork into their head and sucking out the brain, or sticking forceps in and clamping down and pulling them out beat. It's just, when you see how bad it is, when you see the aftermath of one of these things, it is awful. It's terrible. And that's how you handle that. You say, okay, we will discuss that later. Let's stop the 99% plus of times where it's just for convenience. But there was a really interesting story that came along over the past week. It's not a story, it's a person, actually. Her name's Kathy Barnett, and she is running for Congress, she's running for Senate in Pennsylvania. Actually, if you know anything about TV doctors, she's running against Dr. Oz, who I have no idea why Trump endorsed, other than they're old friends. Her Twitter bio reads, Republican candidate for U.S. Senate in Pennsylvania, wife, veteran, homeschooled mom, author, political commentator, Pennsylvania First, America First. She's an interesting character. I first saw this in the Republican debate they had up there, but her story is extremely interesting. To put the most important thing out front, her mom was 11 when her dad, who was 21 at the time, raped her, which is awful. It's terrible. Should not be a thing. That being said, and I would direct you to the Facebook page, my Facebook page. I actually have put up a post with a pinned tweet of hers that it's about a 4.5 minute video talking about this very subject. I wish I could play it for you. I'm just not set up for it right now. It's on you to go find it. It is worth going and listening. Some of the most powerful 4.5 minutes of pro-life advocacy I've ever seen from a family, not just her, but from a family that literally is the worst case scenario when you talk to like this is the scenario they bring up when they want to shut you down. And the most interesting thing that comes out of that is her saying, not a choice. It's not a choice. For her family, for her mother, for her grandmother, for the whole support system there was there, abortion was not a choice. Which is really amazing when you think about it. It actually shows all of these, fundamentals that, and this happened in a South Alabama town. It shows all the fundamentals that Christians aspire to, which is family coming together to do the right thing. It's an amazing story. You should definitely, go to my page. It should be right on top. I may pin it after this just so when I put this episode up, you can still see that one first. But it's just such a powerful story of how life is worth it. Human life is worth it. Just definitely take it out. Now, over the past week with this happening, there's been so many people who you see, and your first reaction to is like, you want to, it's bad. Up in New York City, which if Roe v. Wade is truly, if it goes the way we want it to, it just returned Roe v. That's one thing, is that Roe v. Wade, people don't understand. They've been lied to. It's the fact that it doesn't make abortion legal across the country. It becomes a state-by-state issue. So New York, you're going to be have just as much opportunity to kill your child after Roe v. Wade. Actually, they'll probably expand upon it just to send a message or something. It's awful. But this past Sunday at Catholic Mass up there's a group outside praying for the people in front of them who were protesting in front of that church. Let's just say they were very thankful for the right to kill, not the right, for the ability to kill their child. That it's not totally illegal, if only it was. All these liberals who are talking about how it's going to be illegal if Roe v. Wade is overturned. Like, if only, please make it so. These people were out there, and one of the most sickening videos I've ever seen, these people were out there in a mock gospel tune singing "Thank God for Abortion." Literally, over and over, they were saying, "Thank God for abortion," clapping along. It's really a sickening pit. It wouldn't be hard to find on YouTube if you really wanted to go after it. I may link to something in this video, but that is the demonic fervor that these anti-lifers have. The thought that they might be restricted just a little bit in killing their kids. Some people try to say, well, if you kept the rape and incest to where you could still have an abortion and the rest of it was illegal, it wouldn't be enough. That would not be enough for them. They want full send, able to kill everything. Completely, totally gone. During the same demonstration outside that church, there was a particular, what's the right word here? A particular brutish, particularly reprehensible display that was put on, where this woman, I think she was wearing a diaper and had a bunch of baby dolls under her shirt, was walking in front of these people praying on the front steps of their church, saying, I'm going to kill them. I'm going to kill them. Like beating the head against the stone. Just a completely satanic display that honestly, it boggles my mind. I guess I can't understand the thought of wanting to kill anyone, not just your child, not just a life that is growing inside of you, but anyone like that. She was smashing them in, and you could still hear in the background these protesters saying, "Thank God for abortion." I feel dirty even saying that. I'll be honest with you. Just even talking about this, but yes. So she was taking him out, beating the head against the stone. It really brings to vivid images of not just one person, but hundreds of people sacrificing their babies. Back that you can read about, the Old Commandment times. Or the Old Testament times. And you just got to think, how can people sink this low? That's not quite true. I mean, we are fallen humans by our very nature. Like, when you see something like that, and I've talked about this before, first of all, thank God that that's not you. Because it very much is there, but for the grace of God, go I Club. But at the same time, like, I'll be honest, for me, it's hard not to be like, I really hope you repent because you're going to burn forever. And maybe, I should be working on being, like, not accepting of it, but more loving. I'll give myself that I need to work on it. That's not the only one. Of course, there was protest outside of justices' homes. Even though that's very illegal. Who was it? Was it Brett Kavanaugh's neighbor? Brett Kavanaugh's neighbor, someone who I'm sure they've met at least a couple of times. She organized a protest outside of not just his house, but I mean, she's her neighbor. She's their neighbor. If things were going to go bad, and that boggles my mind that you would set up a protest outside of your neighbor's home, because if something goes bad, your house is probably not that safe either. So I don't think you thought this through very well, but just the absolute disregard for humanity to go out and protest these justices at their own private home. Samuel Alito, Justice Alito, he's apparently gone into hiding. Outside of his home, there was a protest, and there was probably the most telling thing I've ever heard from a pro-abortion advocate. So, of course, there was a bunch of different news sites, large and small, out there covering it, and they were interviewing this one woman. It was a 57-year-old woman. And I think this is where the church has kind of failed, because I feel like it's up to her to accept it, but something tells me she's never heard the word of God, the gospel. She was marching, and of course she was spouting off the "my body, my choice." Of course, she was spouting off all the talking points, but then she said this, and I find it very revealing. She said, and as close to words I can get because I'm doing this off the top of my head, I've lived for 57 years here on earth. My mother didn't have a choice, which is why I'm here. It has been filled with misery. I would be better off if my mother had aborted me, and nobody would have been the wiser. As best as I can recall, that was what she said. And it struck me, because it was actually, I heard this on the way home from work today. It struck me just how miserable these people are. She's honest enough to say it. It makes you wonder how many of these people are advocating for unlimited abortion up until the time of birth, the day, literally until the head's crowning. And some cases would even want it past that. Some states want it past that. Particularly brutal partial birth abortions. How many of these people live in such nihilistic depression that makes them think that they're actually the good guys for trying to keep all of these babies from being born into this. And that really shifts the paradigm on this conversation, because one, at least it's something honest. Two, it's not an edge case. Like, she truly believes that these babies are so much better for being killed. I don't know. It really shifts around to how much as a nation we've come around from being a Christian nation to, I mean, you have a lot of people, you know, marching for this who probably believe the same thing and just doesn't want to say it. So it's kind of on the church to go out and reach these people. Of course, again, you can only do so much. It's up to them to accept it. But something tells me she's never had any true joy in her life, because, well, you can't find true joy apart from Jesus. Say it because it's right. I say it because it's true. And I say that abortion's wrong because abortion's wrong. But man, what these people are doing, I truly feel sorry for them. I really, like, I'm also mad at them because, you know, they're fighting to kill more babies. But I do feel sorry for these people. So that's all I have. I know it's a shorter episode. I'm not really set up for longer episodes right now. I want to get back to it, but just know, in review, you know, if someone wants to argue edge cases with them, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. They are going to filibuster. They're not going to listen. If they can have a good one-on-one discussion about the core issue, which is you have a live baby in you, why do you get to kill it? Like, present a moral reasoning for me. You're usually not going to get that. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. You know, hit the like, hit the subscribe, leave a comment, ring the little bell. It doesn't do anything. It just makes you feel better. You feel like you're helping me. No, it delivers all the videos I have directly into your inbox. It helps out a lot. And sharing this on Facebook would help a lot too. Guys, y'all have a great rest of your week. Hopefully I'll be back. God willing, I'll be back next week with an even better show. Y'all are awesome. Do something that would make a leftist try and cancel you, because you're probably doing something right. See ya.